Hi, good afternoon. My name is Brownie Newman, and I serve as chair of the Buncombe County Commission. And I would like to welcome everyone who is with us today to participate in this public forum regarding Buncombe County government's future decisions around how to invest the $52 million that has been allocated to our community through the American Rescue Plan. I'm joined today by two of our other county commissioners representing District 1 in Buncombe County, County Commissioners Terri and Commissioner Al Whitesides. So the commission has already been putting a lot of thought into the important decisions around the investment of this significant resource for our community. And we have conducted an RFP soliciting ideas from the community, and we've received about 150 different specific proposals, most of which originated from various community organizations in Buncombe County. And there were also a number of projects that were internally submitted by different Buncombe County departments that will also be considered. We have made some initial allocations of about $11 million towards several projects and needs that were identified as being high priorities and shovel ready to go and needed with some time of urgency. But that leaves about $40 million of additional investments that the county commissioners will need to make over the next 2 years. We received half of the $52 million in an initial allocation, and we will expect to receive the second half of that allocation sometime in about 9 months from now. So this is an important set of decisions to make. I think the commission wants to invest these funds strategically to make a real difference and lasting impact on the future of our community. And getting public input on that is an important part of the process. So thank you all for being with us today. And I'd like to turn it over to Commissioners Wells and Whitesides to also make a few remarks. Terri, would you like to go first?
Yes, thank you. Well, welcome everyone. It's great to have you with us today. And I'm excited to hear your thoughts and what your perspectives are around this funding. And I just wanted to share a few of my thoughts of how I've been looking at this process. So I think that, well, these 50 million funds are an opportunity to make a strategic investment in our community while both addressing the needs that have been laid bare by COVID and also investing in our county priorities so that we can strengthen our community going forward. And so that is kind of at the heart of the way I look at this opportunity that we have. And I feel like the initial investment there that we've made of around 11 million, I wanted to talk just a little bit about that and why I felt very good about supporting those projects that we've already done as well. We looked at, I think, about 3 million for Homeward Bound, which was looking at permanent supportive housing, which I think we're all aware of the need for that within our community. And so that's going to have an impact on, I believe, around 125 what was chronically homeless people. Also the broadband, of 4 million investment in broadband. And this is something that there has been an ongoing need, but certainly COVID definitely laid that bare and made more people realize the impact of this. And with that specific project that we're looking at with that infrastructure, we're hoping to impact around, I think it's around 2,600 households in one of the most economically need areas in our county. And that will help, I think, around getting close to 7,000 individuals with that broadband project. The Verner early childhood was a little over 400,000. And specifically that is to increase the length of the child care day, which we know we continue to hear about our working mothers and the impact that's had on them. So we're really hoping that this will be able to benefit working parents with having that extended day for early childhood. And then the One Buncombe Fund and the Center for Agriculture and Food Entrepreneurs, both of those, that's looking at our small businesses. specifically the One Buncombe Fund, should be helping, I'd say, well in advance of 100 small businesses in our community that have been disproportionately impacted. And then the craft will specifically be hopefully helping around 80 entrepreneurs, and specifically limited resource entrepreneurs. So when I think about that, I think about the ripple effects of this investment in our community. And so if you take all of that, that's helping probably at least 3,000 households and more than 10,000 individuals in our community. And I think that's around 4% of our population. So I think about those ripple effects going forward with this investment. And so think about the children that are going to be able to pursue their education and actually do the homework that they're expected to do at home. The mothers who are going to be able to work should they choose, or be able to pursue their education because of the extended childcare. The chronically homeless able to have a safe place to live and hopefully get their lives stabilized. And entrepreneurs who are going to be able to pursue their dreams and grow their businesses. And so I'm excited about the funding that we've already chosen to do, and I'm really looking forward to hearing from you all about your perspectives on how we go forward with this strategic investment. Commissioner Whiteside.
I need to unmute first. Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. And it's a pleasure to be able to discuss with you these funds. And I'd just like to piggyback on what Brownie and Terri have said, and what really makes me feel good about this $50 million is that it allows us to move ahead a lot quicker on some things for our projects, for our community, than we normally would. When you look at the $50 million and you look at 1 cent of property tax today, that comes to about $4.8 million. Well, when you look at the 50 million and think about it, when we try to balance property tax with everything else and what we do, this $50 million really is equivalent to 10.5 cents on property taxes, what it would be to raise it to get that. But by us having this $50 million, even though it's a one-time hit, but it still gives us the ability to move forward a lot quicker with broadband, affordable housing, with all the needs that we need in our community. And that's what's great. And that's now, though, we're at the point where we need to get the input from you, because it's important that we all know what you need and going forward. So at this point, I will just listen and take notes. And thank you.
All right, great. Thank you, Terri and Al. And so an important part of what we want to do today is to listen to the community and answer any questions that we can, as well as just provide an opportunity for folks to share their perspective and ideas. We spent about 2.5 hours at our commission meeting on Tuesday, where we were directly hearing from about 50 of the organizations that have submitted proposals to the county. That's about half of the proposals that originated from the community. We're going to repeat that process again soon, as well as have some dedicated time for the county departments to present their ideas as well. And then this virtual format today is the first of 3 that we're going to hold over the coming days to also get more community input. So thank you all for being here today. If you have a question or comment, if you could raise your hand, and we'll try to then acknowledge you and then let you ask your question or just share your perspective and comments. We don't have a specific time limits on comments for the discussion setup, but we want to have a chance to hopefully get to everyone. So thank you again. Does anybody have a question or comment at this time? You can either use the Zoom format to raise your hand, or if you may not know how to do that, you can also just literally raise your hand and we'll look for it and we'll acknowledge you. I see Mark Hunt with us. Mark, thanks for being here. What is your question or thoughts you'd like to share?
Thanks so much, guys, for doing this. Appreciate the openness. Hey, as you guys know, I've been involved with the Woodfin Greenway and Blueway project. And what I'm gathering is that there remains a funding gap for the Greenway portion of the Woodfin project. And of course, the county government is administering the design and construction of that. Most of the money for the entire project is raised, including for the Greenway. And I think we're approaching the time to get this project across the finish line with sufficient funding to build out the Greenway portion. So I would encourage allocation of a modest amount of the federal funds to that project. That's my comment. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for that comment. I don't think there was a specific proposal, or correct me if I'm wrong, there was not a specific proposal submitted for that particular infrastructure. But that also a point I'll make is that the initial proposals that have been submitted that are being considered now, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that would be the only opportunity for proposals to be submitted, because we will get a second allocation next year. So our anticipation is that there'll be further opportunities for, for ideas and discussion around other additional possibilities.
And just one more thought, Brownie. The project is an internal project for the county. Mm-hmm. So my guess is that the town of Woodfin views this as a county project and therefore didn't feel compelled to submit. So maybe it's an internal look that you guys would have. I'm gonna end it there. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks. And I just want to add one thing there also, Brownie, that, the reality is too, for everybody to realize there's certain kind of projects that are allowed to be funded. So that's something that we're having to look at and staff's having to look at carefully too, because we have to meet the eligibility, because otherwise there's a clawback with this. And so we have to be really careful and make sure we invest the money in what it specifically can be invested. Otherwise, basically you're having to give that money back. So we're doing our due diligence with that as well.
Thank you thanks for sharing that, Terri. And I think the Greenway projects, and there were some others that are potential as well, are being looked at on that question. I don't think there's been a definitive, I don't think they've been deemed to be not eligible, but that's just one of the questions that is, as Terri said, is being looked at. Who else would like to ask a question or comment? Scott Rogers, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Brownie, and all of our county commissioners and staff. We appreciate you. I just want to share our comment and feedback from our member churches. First of all, we just appreciate the broad scope that all of you are providing in leadership. Some of the key pieces that we hear from our churches is, one, just a real thanks for partnering with us and through the schools to provide food. Second is to keep families in their homes because we have so many facing the possibility of eviction and just need help with bridging that. So we appreciate both the One Buncombe Fund and those pieces. We also know that you have a huge emphasis on affordable housing and certainly creating more permanent supportive housing. Appreciate what you funded and what we're hopefully going to be able to add along with others in the near future. Also want to just say thanks for the great work with COVID and health. We are going to need some help, it looks like, around testing to be balanced with also the vaccines and continuing your efforts to strengthen the healthcare safety net. So those three main areas around keeping families intact. Well, we want to add one final piece that the churches almost left out is that they're very concerned about trying to equip people for jobs and job training and better skilled jobs and growing even beyond living wage. So those are our 4 things, and thank you for what you're doing in those areas.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Scott.
Terri Bellamy has had her hand.
Right.
Yeah, great. Hey, Terri, great to see you today. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure. Good afternoon, Chairman Newman, Commissioners Whitesides and Newells. My name is Terri Bellamy, and I'm here on behalf of the Empowerment Resource Center. The Empowerment Resource Center owns and operates WRES radio station. According to the CDC, in times of pandemics, public health messaging with the affected population in a coordinated, effective, and credible way is considered a key factor in controlling the spread of the disease. Additionally, the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services notes that all North Carolinians should get the latest information on COVID-19 directly from reliable sources. The COVID-19 outbreak has been accompanied by a flood of misinformation from unreliable sources. The Empowerment Resource Center's WRES is a respectable and reliable source for COVID-19 information and other important community health related issues. During the past 18 months, staff and volunteers of WRES have provided information from governmental officials, medical personnel, nonprofit leaders on the coronavirus and other important issues. The board of directors of the Empowerment Resource Center is seeking funding to purchase equipment for the station and support the hiring of an executive director and other personnel. Our organization has operated using the same equipment that was originally provided at the opening of the station. With new equipment, the station will be able to provide a better quality programming and be able to live broadcast on locations within the community. Additionally, funds will be used to support the employment of an executive director and support staff to ensure the success of the organization's operations. The Empowerment Resource Center has suffered a significant loss with the passing of our former executive director. Your investment in our organization will benefit various nonprofit agencies, small business owners, governmental entities, churches, and the public for several generations. Thank you so very much for your positive consideration of our funding request. And I appreciate your time in listening to our request.
Great. Terri, great to see you. Thank you so much for your work in the community, and thanks for being here today.
It's my pleasure. And thank you so very much for the service that you're providing our community. You're true leaders, and we appreciate you. Thank you so very much.
Brownie,
Right, yes.
Tom Byers has had his hand up for a while as well.
Right.
Okay, great. Tom, we'll take you next, and I see we've got several other folks with their hands up, and we'll make sure we get to everyone. So, Tom, thanks for being here.
Thank you very much for hosting this event, commissioners. We really appreciate your time and interest devoted to this. I suspect something I share with almost everyone who's participating in this event is a sense of chauvinism about being a Buncombe County resident. I feel like I live in one of the greatest places on earth. There's nowhere else I'd rather live. And I feel like there are so many people out there around the world who envy us the good fortune of living here. And as much as I love Buncombe County, I do think there is an area where we fall short and could do better. And that's in our walking and bicycling infrastructure. You know, we have such a beautiful natural environment. We need a better system to be able to take advantage of it. And it does bother me that it seems that we're lagging other communities that think of themselves as, you know, attractive and progressive. Even within North Carolina, I think we are lagging. So I just want to urge in general, not only the good cause for which Mark Hunt has already spoken, but also another major opportunity that could be short-term would be a big commitment is the Bent Creek section of Greenway to go from Hominy Creek Park all the way down to Biltmore Park. So I know there are so many good claims on this money, but I really hope you can give some priority to that Greenway infrastructure. And thank you for this chance to comment.
Thank you, Tom. Great to see you.
Thank you.
All right, let's take Robin Merrill next. And Robin, and then after Robin, Daniel Young will come to you after Robin.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Robin Merrill, and I live in District 1. And many of you know me from my work at Pisgah Legal Services. And you know, in full disclosure, Pisgah Legal is one of those organizations that has an application in front of you. And of course, I'm talking a little bit about that, but also my perspective as a resident of Buncombe County and the knowledge that I've accumulated in the 21 years of my career. And that is that prior to the pandemic, we had a lot of vulnerable people in Buncombe County who were living paycheck to paycheck, not able to have affordable housing or their medication or adequate food or childcare, people living with abuse because they got the bills paid that way. And as Commissioner Wells was saying, the pandemic has laid bare those problems, and it has exacerbated them and spread them to people who didn't have a history of unemployment or low incomes or scarce housing. And one of the things that we found in our data at Pisgah Legal is that in the 18 months prior to the pandemic, compared to the 18 months since the pandemic has started, we've actually handled 42% more housing cases, which in some ways explains why I'm so tired and why our staff is so tired. But even more so, just really demonstrate what people's needs are. So I encourage you to really look at the opportunities to improve the lives of the most vulnerable in our community, in our county. And thank you so much for the things you have already funded. I believe that the Days In project with Homeward Bound is really going to change a lot of things, and it's going to improve a lot of people's lives. Having the childcare at the Werner Center, having the broadband, you know, I was one of those poor rural school kids myself a long time ago. And when I went to college, my classmates had had so many experiences that I had never even heard of. And our children deserve that. They deserve the absolute best. So thank you for investing in those. And I would just encourage you to continue to invest in the programs that make a real difference in the lives of those who need it the most. This pandemic has been so awful. And I know how awful it is for me, but my job is secure. I don't have the struggles so many others have. And yet it has been pretty devastating in so many ways. And so I can only imagine how much more difficult it is for other people, and that they are the ones who really need these funds targeted toward them. Now, you know, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't say a little something about Pisgah Legal's application, and I'll be back in front of you at the October 5th meeting to talk about it. But, you know, we're asking for funds so we can do more of that work to help those who are facing eviction because of the pandemic. We haven't seen the big flood of cases that we thought we would. We have seen a steady increase over time, and we expect that to continue. And we expect that the longer term impacts are going to carry on for a couple of years as people are unable to pay their debts and creditors start pursuing them as they're unable to pay their medical bills and push their budgets to the limits where they can't pay their rents. So I hope that you will support our application. I also want to say that it has been a true joy to work with Philip Harden and the staff at Buncombe Health and Human Services on the rental assistance program. It has greatly strengthened our relationships because it has forced us to get creative. Just last week, Philip and I filmed a video that's being shared with local agencies about how people can access those funds and what tenants' legal rights are right now. So I'm grateful for that opportunity and that just increase in relationship. And you know, thank you for all your hard work and for caring about these issues and the people of Buncombe County.
Thank you, Robin. I just want to share also, I really appreciate you mentioning Philip and the staff there in our economic services. I agree. I think they're doing a great job. And I also just want folks to know that we still have several $1 million in funding to help folks with rent, with their mortgages, with utilities, and there's even funding out there to help with internet payments. So please help us get that word out there, and anyone can call our economic services. I think the number is 250-5500, and we'll put that in the chat as well, but please share that information.
Thanks, Terry. And Robin, thank you so much. I know the county really appreciates the partnership with Pisgah Legal through, well, years, but particularly over the last 18 months. It's been invaluable to us and to the community. So thanks to you and everybody at the team at Pisgah Legal. All right, Daniel Young. Thanks for being with us. I think you might be muted.
No, I'm not muted.
Okay, I can hear you. We can hear you.
Yes, my name is Daniel Young. I'm the community outreach worker for the YMI, and my daddy taught me that. And I'm here to speak on the behalf of the Black community here in Asheville. I was listening to, I think Bob Myers talking about doing some update on the greenways, but I think some of this money needs to be going to the communities for Asheville, turning these community centers into learning centers, job training centers for our communities that's being left behind before COVID has hit Asheville, North Carolina, that the city has been turning their back on our community. The only way we're going to be able to help ourselves is with job training. We need funds for computers for our community centers so our kids will not be left behind and everything. I mean, y'all talking about upgrading the communities. How about upgrading the communities with these training these people with jobs and giving them the tools that they need so they can achieve whatever. I mean, I know this money is about to run out and we're not going to be able to get everything. So we can get the education stuff that we need. We ain't got to keep coming back to y'all begging y'all for help. This money is about to run out soon. Let's be real. And Asheville has been leaving the Black community out for so long that we are self-sufficient. We know how to make it on our own. But help our communities out. Use some of this money for our community centers that's been closed down so we can reopen them up, put the laptops in there so we can do our job training, so we can help teach our kids. I'm tired of begging white American Asheville to use spaces that we cannot even, that's supposed to be meant for our community that we can't even use. We got to beg the ass to use the schools to teach our community stuff. We don't have no spaces for our own kids. Well, we can teach and we can do good by our own community. What can we do? Since y'all got all this money, why is the money not being trickled down to Hillcrest, to Montfort, to Pisgah View, to all these Black communities that's a part of Asheville? And why is none of this money being advocated for the YMI to help rebuild that? We at the YMI, we're doing the job training, but we need funds as well. None of this money is being trickled down to the YMI, to none of the stuff that's being used for the Black community. Until we get to this, we address this, we still gonna be in this hole. Y'all don't see what we're going through. Thank y'all.
All right, thank you, Mr. Young. Thanks for being with us. We appreciate you taking time to share your perspective, and that's what this forum's for, is to listen. We did make some initial allocations to a number of different projects like early childhood education and broadband and homelessness and the COVID response, but about 80% of the funds that we received from the or will receive through the American Rescue Act have yet to be, the decision yet to be made on how those will be allocated. So we appreciate you taking time to share your input on it. There's a number of great proposals, as you point out, that address those important needs in the community. So thank you for
Brownie, could I chime in here?
Sure.
Okay, Daniel, I agree with some of what you said, but I want to point out now that what we're doing in the county, I can't speak for the city, even though I live in there, but one of the concerns that I have is, and we're addressing this, we've put money into broadband for the housing projects in the city of Asheville. What we've done on pre-K, the child care, and when you look at what we're doing to help with jobs with the One Buncombe Fund, and when you look at what the county has done with our new strategic plan, we're attacking strategic racism. We're looking at systemic racism, at the foundations of what we're doing to correct it, so that we won't just be putting Band-Aids on problems that we have in our community, but we'll be making generational changes that will affect my kids, my grandkids, and all our kids. And this is something we're doing. And I agree on the YMI. We have got to do more to help the YMI, but I also want to see better plans come from the YMI. Do a better job of expressing what you need so that we know what we can do to help you. But I'll stop there. And Daniel, if you want to talk offline some, please don't hesitate. Give me a call.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Al. All right, Bill O'Connell's had his hand up for a while, so we'll go to Bill, and then after Bill, Celeste. We'll go to Celeste after Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bill O'Connell, I reside in District 1. For about 5 or 6 years now, I've been active in something known as Age-Friendly Buncombe County, specifically around housing issues. I've been active and rather concerned, which I'd like to bring to your attention at this moment. As I think many of you are aware, most older adults want to remain in their homes through the end of their life. Studies generally show 85, 90%. So there's not much debate about that. The problem is many of them, particularly those who are resource challenged, have difficulty remaining in the home because it's not appropriate to support them in those latter years when they have habilitation limitations. They have needs to get out and be socially active, and they can't get in and out of their house very effectively. We have issues around falls, which run quite a bit of an expensive cost for all public authorities that are involved in healthcare, acute healthcare, as well as public health. So what I want to bring to your attention is, in the work I've done, at least as a volunteer with that issue, is we seem to not have a very good understanding of how large a problem this is and what the details are within it. Most notably, we've got the Bowen housing survey that we've done for several years. And that's a great thing for a general view of the metropolitan area, but it just gives kind of a kiss on the cheek to the issues of older adult housing. Very little depth in it, very little nuance in it, very little information that would help planners understand how to put proposals together for the county to be effective in creating some assistance to older adults who are resource challenged to remain in their homes through the end of their life. And so what I'd like to bring to your attention, and I don't have a proposal to that effect, I'm just simply here raising this as an issue. And if you folks seem to think this is worthy, I'd be happy to work with colleagues and submit something either through the Age-Friendly Buncombe County or through COA, the organization I represent, which is a 501c3. But again, I think some kind of a well-structured sample survey that's done with some depth of personal interviews to understand more about how older adults in Buncombe County plan to meet the needs they're going to have as they age. We got 20% of our population who are going to face this challenge repeatedly in the years to come. And it's going to become a bigger problem for folks in the policy area if we don't start to work on it. And what I'm suggesting is we start to build a better understanding of exactly what the scale of that problem is, what the facets are to it, so that we can help put together programmatic activity to address that. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Celeste, you're next.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the time to speak. I appreciated Bill's comments about older adults. Just in the last 3 weeks, we have seen Several older adult women whose husbands took care of the finances and passed away, a couple of them from COVID. And we are now helping them to try to figure out their financial realities in this new post-COVID environment. Thank you to the commissioners for this opportunity to get together with other people in the community that care about the work in Buncombe County. When we at OnTrack think about COVID recovery, one of the many things we see as our place of relevance is helping people recover from a financial perspective. People have had incredible hits to their credit because of being unemployed for periods of time, and the way they allocated the money towards basic needs and perhaps had some debt accumulate during that time. The eviction and foreclosure issues that Robin Merrill has already spoken to, we see clients facing those situations. And we do have a proposal in for some of the COVID recovery money. And the idea of our proposal is to help people from that financial perspective recover from the side of what's going on with their debt, what's going on with their housing, what's going on with their credit, and helping them create a solid financial foundation for the months ahead. A piece of our proposal includes a match savings for emergencies. We've had incredible success since we launched our Secure program back in 2015, and are partnering with Buncombe County to help childcare workers build emergency savings through the Secure program. And we feel like that there's a great need in the county for citizens, lower income households, to be able to have that emergency savings to fall back on, hopefully not because of a pandemic, because other things as life happens. So thank you for this opportunity to make some comments and for your consideration of our proposal and the partnership over the years. And I have another meeting I have to go to, so I'll have to drop out of the Zoom, but thank you again.
Thanks, Celeste. We appreciate you taking time to be with us and all the great work that OnTrack does in the community. Next up, we'll go to Babette and then Kim Williams. And also, if other folks, if you have you can raise your hand if you have ask a question. But you can also, if you would prefer, another option is you could post your question in the chat. But we're happy to do it that way. But all right, Babette, thank you for being with us.
Yes, my name is Babette Kilgore-Mays, and I am the Vice President of the Shallow Community Association. I also work with Project Lighten Up, summer camp and after school. And I want to thank Buncombe County for all that you have done for us throughout the years as far as funding our problems that we've had with getting things done. My first concern is with Project Lighten Up. We have a difficult time trying to reach our kids because we don't have transportation. So that's causing us a major problem with being able to pick up kids from school. And we're trying to work with the Shallow Center with the Asheville Parks and Recs with their after school program, because we're having a problem with the buses actually coming to the areas to drop off the kids. And the kids are having to walk down further ways from where the center is and from the church. So we're not being able to reach them. And I say our concern is that Project Lighten Up, we keep our costs down, and we have a lot of scholarships that we give out to the kids because we see the need that their mental problems that our kids are facing, some of the things that they're going through, we have never, ever seen before. I'll give an example of a little girl that we've had since she was 5 years old, and she's maybe 9 now. Her mother passed away in our parking lot over a year ago. And we've had her, and Estes was really good. She went to stay with her father, who lived in another city. Her grandfather that she lived with and grew up with, he passed away. And then her father passed away. And so her and her brother, mentally, I don't know if anything has been done. And we're really trying to reach out to how we help these kids to come out of what we call they're in survival mode. And they need someone that is going to love them and to share their pain and to help them through the system, because we finding that sometimes we have some kids that are so far behind, even in the first grade. And that's why we keep our costs down with Project Lighten Up. So any assistance we can have with that, even as far as, transportation, because I think that I do understand that there's a problem with maybe having as many bus drivers as they need. But if we were able to pick up the kids at the school and bring them to these areas, that would help us, but we need that area. On the flip side of that, with the Shiloh community, I have been in Shiloh all of my life, and I love it. And every community has its problems. And when I talk to the young people about where they want to go and what they want to do, the conversation seems to change. And we've learned that if we respect them, they respect us, and they'll tell us what their needs are. Some of them need education. They need further education. We want to try to work with AB Tech. Our church actually has computers that if they were going to do online, on-site, on that kind of training. But I think that we had to sit down and think about what kind of training that they want and how we could help them. So we would need to be able to have more accessibility. We love to open up our church, and but we need more. It's hard to pay people. You want to pay people that are knowledgeable in those areas, and we need either retired teachers, because our young kids, they're very smart, but they're behind in reading, they're behind in math, and we just need to have that. So I'm on here today just to say that I'm proud of where I'm from. I'm proud of the work that Buncombe County has done to help our communities. I think that we've got a long way to go. I think the language has to change on how we address problems and how we go forth. But I think if you don't live in our spaces, we invite you to come to our spaces and to engage with us and to talk with us. And maybe we can work that together, because everyone has a problem, but we can help generate those problems. And to Mr. Daniel Young, with the concerns that you have, anytime that you want to talk about changes, feel free to contact me, because Shiloh is not the biggest problem, and we're working on it. Most of us in Shiloh are related to each other, so we know each other. So I would say that I would just wanted to bring that to the attention of that our spectrum in my community. And I know, I did want to speak today because I know Terri Wells, and I wanted to say that she has done a great service with us in Shiloh, but we also have a population of seniors on fixed incomes that do not fit in the guidelines of making enough money to get some help with taxes or anything else. They make too much money. And so if there's a way that can also help, because we seem like we don't know all the resources in my community, because we still have a lot of seniors with oil heat, and oil is expensive. They can't afford to convert to gas because of the cost to convert to gas. So whatever kind of assistance, I don't know everything that could be done, but I'm here to listen. I'm here to grow more knowledge, to know how I can help, not just my community, but I also go out into Diva View, Pisgah View, Bartlett Arms, Aston Park Town, because I also work for the Spark Foundation with the community engagement markets. So I try to do a lot all across the city. So I think that if I could get more information on why and how and where I would need to go to get more things done, it would help me some. And so I say thank you again.
Thank you, Ms. Mays. We really appreciate you taking time to be with us and for all your great work in Shiloh and throughout the community, and with a lot of great community organizations too. All right, let's Oh, Kim Williams, we said you would go next, so you're up.
All right. Thank you, commissioners, for this chance to provide public input. I'd like to speak in support of the Bent Creek Greenway today. I know a lot of Greenway and Trails advocates are just learning about that this is going up for submissions, so you hopefully will hear a lot in your upcoming meetings. I want to make a couple of points about what a critical time we are right now in the development of greenways. The National Parks and Recreation Association recently did an audit of Buncombe County and found that per capita, we're about half of what other greenways are in other counties across the nation. So we are quite behind in providing this as not only an amenity, but a way for people to be healthier, to not have to use cars all the time, and also as a recruitment for business. New Belgium and many other businesses are looking for places like this to relocate. And I get the chance to work with other communities like Knoxville and Chattanooga on greenway development and see that they are actively, constantly recruiting businesses as we build greenways. I also wanted to mention that I worked with many other volunteers recently to do user surveys, intercept surveys on the Wilma Dykeman or the new River Arts Greenway. And we had hundreds of responses. People came up to us constantly, very excited about greenways. And one thing that I observed just from the 5 hours I was there is that it is a diversity of people, every type of income, every type of race. We encountered people that spoke different languages. Greenways are for everyone. And we feel like this is really an issue of equity to be able to provide these services to everyone. I worked in the past few years as a vice president of Connect Buncombe and the chair of the City Greenway Committee. And I just want to say that it is a proven fact that North Carolina's NCDOT just recently did a study that for every dollar spent on greenways, there's a return of almost $2 of economic impact to that community. So again, just want to reinstate, I really support the Bent Creek Greenway and hope you can fund it. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Kim. All right, next, let's go to Deanna. And following Deanna, we'll go to Sunny Day Larson. And then after Sunny, we'll go to Matthew and Michelle Coleman. And so thank you all for being here.
Mr. Chairman, can someone help DJ Dave figure out how to get the hand symbol up? I'm watching him frustrated on his picture there.
Thank you for flagging that. DJ, we'll go ahead and put you on the list, okay? We'll let you go after Matthew and Michelle Coleman, okay? So thank you for noting that. But Deanna, would you like to go next?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to provide input. I'm Deanna Williams and I live in District 1 of Buncombe County. I grew up in Arden and I moved back to the area in 2017. Providing mental health and substance use counseling that is trauma-informed and person-centered is extremely important. During the stress of COVID, the need for almost everyone to have better coping skills and relationship skills has become very apparent. There is so much anger, frustration, and anxiety in the physical world and on the internet. And healthy relationship and wellness training, it needs to actually start in preschool and continue through high school. Children and young adults need training on what a healthy relationship looks like and those coping skills, including mindfulness, for when things happen like COVID. All teachers need trauma-informed and also mindfulness training to help their students out. Far too many parents lack this knowledge, so they can't pass it on to their children. Domestic violence has been a problem for a long time and has only been exacerbated by COVID. Therefore, supporting victims and counseling the perpetrators should also be a priority. Low barrier housing is needed for the homeless population. With stable housing, they can address their underlying mental health, substance use, and trauma. Then they could receive life and job skills training or pursue education. The proposed hotel, the new one that the city of Asheville is looking at, is a wonderful step in this direction. Counseling, life and job skills, substance use, trauma, relationship coping skills is needed for those living in subsidized housing, enabling them to earn enough money to move out of subsidized housing and make room for others in crisis. I recognize that some individuals will need permanent supportive housing. However, most people with disabilities want to work and should be encouraged to work for a more fulfilling life without jeopardizing those supports. I also recognize that housing in Buncombe County is very expensive. Perhaps some new low-income development farther out of the city that would include bus transportation would help. And people that don't want low-income housing near them need relationship training too. Now, broadband internet access, which I love that you guys have been working on that throughout the county, is very important for education. There are still areas without cell coverage or internet, and there are even towers that look like giant pine trees that you could use if appearance is an issue. I think Wi-Fi within downtown Asheville should be reconsidered to support the homeless population and their learning and growth. And I'm just going to note that the city of Irwin, Tennessee, which is very small, has Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi throughout their downtown. I think also somebody had mentioned like laptops for students. I think that is very important, and them having a laptop that has internet access so that they can do the training. But they also need training on appropriate technology usage. So those are the priorities as I see them to address issues that COVID has made much worse. So thank you very much for the opportunity to provide input, and good luck with your decisions and funding.
Great, thank you, Deanna. We appreciate all your ideas and thoughts. All right, Sunny Day Larson.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Sunny Day Larson. I live in District 1. I actually work for Mountain Care, which is a local organization providing adult day services. We did submit our own proposal, but today I'm here to make a more general request for support for our aging community. Older adults are undeniably some of the most vulnerable members of our society right now. They've been the main victims of COVID-19, not just because of medical risk, but also because of the impact that this pandemic has had on their routines, a lack of contact with others, limited activities and services, and increased anxiety and stress. As a former caregiver for my own loved one with dementia, I am way too familiar with the challenges that this population faces. There's been a spotlight on the difficulties that parents have dealt with while schools were disrupted. But I want to remind you that caregivers of older and impaired adults have been facing these same challenges since the day they took on that responsibility. The loneliness and isolation felt by all of us during this time is a day-to-day reality for so many people in our community. Quarantine and social distancing has amplified the caregiver burden and had significant consequences for many adults. In the last year and a half, I've observed a rapid decline in cognitive and physical abilities among adults that I work with, but I've also witnessed significant improvements, nothing short of miraculous, when these same folks resumed services and returned to a social setting. Families in Buncombe County desperately need guidance and support right now. Older adults living in community need opportunities for care, socialization, and recreation, and caregivers require respite to keep their loved ones home for longer. No one should ever have to choose between caring for someone they love or their job. The proposed active aging center is a one-stop shop of centralized services. This model could maximize resources by providing everything that adults and their families need in one centrally located multi-agency site. When we support older adults, the impact is tremendous because for every adult that we serve, we're also supporting their spouses, their adult children, grandchildren, neighbors, and friends who all will directly benefit as well. An active aging center in Buncombe will make aging in place possible for so many. A third of Buncombe County's residents are over the age of 60, and that number just continues to grow. There are more older adults living here than there are children. If we want to make our county a great place to live across the lifespan, we need to be proactive and strengthen aging services for citizens now. Today is the day to invest in alternatives to long-term care and provide our families and individuals with the options that they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunny Day. We appreciate your taking time to share your thoughts and ideas on all of this. Okay, next up is Matthew and Michelle Coleman, and then following them, we'll go to DJ Dave.
Hello, Commissioners. I want to say thank you guys for providing this format so that we can share from the community. Again, my name is Matthew Coleman. As you said it already, it's my lovely wife, Michelle. I'm from California. My wife is from here, born and raised here, and she'll talk a little about that for herself. But we're with the Asheville Dream Center. also with the faith community. I'm a pastor here locally and have been 4 years. We were married 10 years ago here, and we've fallen in love with this beautiful community here in Buncombe County. We spend a lot of time in the housing authority communities, and that's our major focus. There's 12 of them, and that's our long-term strategy goal, is to partner with every organization on here, and obviously with the housing authority itself, to work with the families there. We're already working with families there, have been for a year and a half. I think sometimes we have to put some more emphasis on things that bring hope. We've seen a lot of violence. Obviously, we know all about that Asheville is in the top 10% of small cities in America that are experiencing violence. And, I'm from California, so I'm obviously very familiar with that. Sacramento, California specifically. I met my wife in Los Angeles, where there's a lot of violence. The program that we obviously are working with is called the Dream Center. And the Dream Center is a 15-story hospital in Los Angeles. And through their programs, they saw crime drop 73% in the first 5 years in a 5-mile radius. And so they have a second facility in Phoenix, Arizona, which is the 5th largest city in America. They also run the largest human trafficking recovery center in North America. So we have a lot of connections with all of this, and we're trying to bring that facility here to Asheville, and those connections from Los Angeles and from Phoenix. So for today, we just want to introduce ourselves today, say thank you for providing this opportunity to be involved with you.
And I'll just add our program that we have currently is called Adopt a Block. So every other Saturday, we started right before the pandemic hit, not knowing a pandemic was coming, but we just went anyway. And we've adopted the Hillcrest community specifically right now. Like we said, we're looking to expand, but we've gone every other Saturday to help meet the practical needs of families in those communities. To date, we go out and we just, find out what the needs are. And one thing that we found out is a lot of children needed beds. They were sleeping on the floor or did not have a room where they had their own clean bed and nice beds. So we've done 31 beds for kids in the past year and a half, and redone their rooms with whatever their dream is to have their room. We've also been able to provide washers and dryers to 18 single moms. That's probably one of the largest things. When the pandemic hit, we saw the kids were home, moms were with multiple kids, trying to get them on a bus with the laundry to go to a laundromat. It was a disaster. Right. A lot of grandmothers taking care of children. Right. So we've tried to meet that need as well. So right now, practically with Adopt a Block, we would love to see that program expand to the other communities. But right now, that's what we're doing, is the Adopt a Block. We've got I would say about 70 volunteers per Saturday, every other Saturday, coming out all across the city to volunteer to help meet these needs. So we go in, we clean homes, we're sort of boots on the ground, and help teach and train how to keep homes clean. Right. We've had 5 single moms enroll in college that we've created relationships with, and one specifically, I love to say this, who's left a domestic abuse situation because she said she felt she had a community of support to do that. So that is our heart. We want to expand that program and eventually do after school programs for kids in the performing arts and sports specifically. So we just wanted to introduce ourselves to you guys since we're so new. And just thank you guys for being such servant leaders for this city. We are so excited to be here, and we have roots here and to plant and just love our city together.
Yeah, absolutely. And this lastly, we're all in here. We literally have a young man who's 2.5 years old through the foster care system in our home from one of these properties right now. And we're just blessed to have him.
We just took him in a week ago. So we became parents overnight, but it's good. 2.5 years old. So we're all in, and we just are here to serve with you guys.
Absolutely. God bless you guys. Have a great day.
Thank you so much for sharing that. It's great to meet you. And appreciate all the enthusiasm you're bringing to these important efforts. So thank you. All right, DJ Dave, thanks for being with us.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman Newman and members of the Buncombe County Commission. My name is David Jones III. I am here on behalf of the East End Valley Street Neighborhood Association's Dental Assistance Program. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak to you today. The East End Valley Street Neighborhood Association is a 501c3 nonprofit that is dedicated to supporting our residents. During the pandemic, we have provided support to residents, partnering with MAHEC to host COVID-19 screening events where attendees were screened and provided face masks, hand sanitizer, food, water, and informational pamphlets on COVID-19. Over 50 home visits made by a neighborhood liaison who received stipends to check in on elderly residents of the neighborhood to ensure that they had personal protection equipment and to reduce social isolation. During the site visits, the neighborhood liaison discussed the social, emotional, physical need of the residents, which were the residents in which the residents indicated their oral health issues and their lack of solutions to solve them. We are requesting funds from the Buncombe County to develop a community-based solution to this growing and unrecognized need. The Center of Disease Control's website has published the U.S. Surgeon General's Oral Health in America report, which suggests that we need to change perceptions regarding oral health and disease so that oral health becomes an accepted component of general health. The CDC's website further provides information that moderate to severe immunocompromised health impacts a patient's ability to recover from COVID-19. The National Institute of Health further states oral disease in immunocompromised people tend to be more common with poor oral hygiene, malnutrition, and tobacco use. The East End Neighborhood Association Dental Assistance Program begins to address these goals, which is why we are requesting your support to fund this 3-year initiative. Thank you in advance for your consideration and support. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Thank you for being here and presenting that really compelling proposal. And we appreciate it very much. All right. I don't see any other.
Jennifer Billstrom's had her hand up.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Terry. Jennifer.
I'd just like to quickly say thank you for having this format. It's an excellent way for us to share our voices and our thoughts with you. I live in Black Mountain, but I want to speak on behalf of my neighbors who live in Swannanoa. For years, I've noticed that people daily try to navigate their community by foot, and they do so without the infrastructure to keep them safe. So I would love to see improvements in walkability for the Swannanoa community. I also want to thank you for investing in broadband access for our rural neighbors. As I said, I live in Black Mountain, so I don't struggle with access, but I grew up in a very rural area, so I can really understand how difficult that must be in this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
I think, is it Lena?
Yeah, Lena, thank you. As I hope the commissioners are aware, there's currently a consultants plan for the future of the Buncombe County Public Library that includes closing several branches of the library and moving to a regional hub model for our library system. I've been told that the library has put in a request for some of this money, though I don't know the specifics of that request. While I don't want the library closest to me to close, I came at this issue from the perspective of a librarian myself, and I believe that Buncombe County has the ability right now to lead the way in forward thinking and addressing our community's needs. And I believe this ties in directly to what several other speakers have said. I would like to see Buncombe County Public Libraries partner with our community programs and nonprofits like the Asheville Dream Center and even our schools to create a system of bookmobiles and pop-up libraries within the current model and in the future, the regional hub model, if we go that way, to take the library and its resources to the people. There are a number of problems that mobile libraries would solve. First is the same as much of what has been said. It's taking resources to the communities that need them. Our communities of color and low socioeconomic status could each benefit from a library that brings educational materials and resources to them. A mobile library would be able to use community centers, fire departments, schools, retirement homes, sober living facilities, and even businesses as locations. I use the term bookmobile because it's a word in our lexicon, but I don't mean something that delivers only books. I envision a mobile Wi-Fi hotspot, computers, job trainers, anything that a specific community might be in need of in a way that eliminates barriers and access to those resources, like lack of transportation, time, and even at a base level, just simple knowledge of what or where the resources are. To address books specifically, though, there is a huge amount of research behind the mental health benefits of reading to deal with trauma. Giving children a book that mirrors their experiences, their skin color, and their lives in general can help with handling emotions and navigating through the trauma. The Buncombe County Strategic Plan for 2025 includes focus areas for both resident well-being and an educated and capable community. And two of the core values the plan highlights are collaboration and equity. A system of bookmobiles and pop-up libraries would address all of the needs of our community and meet numerous sections of the focus area in the strategic plan. And it would also just be a great way for Buncombe County to lead the way and design a new model to address kindergarten readiness, increase literacy rates, and simply be a huge part of each of the communities. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any other hands yet, Brownie.
Sorry.
All right, is there anybody else who would like to share any ideas or ask a question? Okay. Well, I just want to say thank you again to everyone. This is, I know there's been a lot of Zoom meetings going on last 18 months especially, but this is the first time we've had this kind of format specifically for this process. And I have really enjoyed it and appreciated it. And I think anyway, as folks can see, there's a lot of great ideas that have come forward through this process. So that's exciting. There will be a lot of difficult decisions to make. You know, I know $52 million is a lot of money. We want to make sure we invest it well. But for a community of our size, it doesn't mean that there's not going to be lots of difficult decisions to make around how to invest these funds. As was highlighted in the meeting today, there's lots of amazing work happening in our community, and we look forward to partnering with a lot of great groups to advance some fantastic projects and extend important services in the community, as we've heard from folks today. Terry, Al, would you like to share anything else?
Before we share something, we have two hands up, Brownie.
Okay, sorry, great, thank you. Thanks for catching that. Who's, let me see.
Teresa.
Okay, Teresa
and Bill.
Great. And then we'll go back to Bill again. Yeah, Teresa, thanks.
Hi, Brownie and everyone here. Thank you so much for having this forum and just taking the time to get public comments. I'm a resident of Asheville, and I'm not certain, if this is the most appropriate form of funding for this, if there's other budgets in some other arena. But one of the things that, I've got kids in the public school system, and I've seen the teachers just do an incredible job of pivoting. And I've seen the students do an incredible job of pivoting as well, bouncing from virtual to in-person learning. And one of the ideas that I have is I would love to see outdoor classrooms and outdoor gardens in our public school system. I think that it would just be amazing to provide an outdoor space for students to learn in a natural outdoor surrounding. I can just imagine all the environmental science education that could take place in these arenas. The American Academy of Pediatrics encourages our school districts to construct outdoor classrooms to increase the social distance on campus. I think, our teachers do an amazing job, but the outdoor classroom and the gardens would allow them to improve and expand what they teach, where they teach it, how they teach it. It'd be wonderful if perhaps that they would be able to, you know, in addition to having, you know, like a whiteboard, if they would be able to have technology available outside as well. You know, some of the things that you could think about incorporating in these outdoor classrooms and outdoor gardens would be, you know, whiteboards, you know, the way that you would do the seatings, maybe something for shade, some type of a canopy, but something where they could store some materials for teaching, raised bed gardens where the students could learn and grow and then eat the bountiful vegetables that they, you know, would be planting. Rain barrels would be really cool. Compost bins, you know, teaching them about weather related, you know, tools would be great. I just think it would really, really provide a long-term impact to our community. You know, particularly the children, the teachers, the administrators, and the parents involved. And I know that several schools, you know, several of the public schools, I'm sure, do have outdoor classrooms and outdoor, you know, some may have outdoor gardens, but I know that not every one of our Buncombe County schools does have those resources. And yeah, that's, I just think it would be a great investment in the children, teachers, schools of Buncombe County.
Thank you, Teresa.
You're welcome.
Bill?
Thank you. The item I want to raise is not another idea, but a process question. I suspect others may share. You've got many of these ideas that are already set down in a proposal relative to this funding process. And then there are many ideas we heard today that are ideas, just concepts, such as the one I offered and many others. Can you give some direction as to how you would like to see these go forward from this Zoom conference call to something more specific? Do you need and some direction as to timetable and other process relations to that?
I'll take a quick stab at it, and Terri, now feel free to chime in too, of course. You know, we haven't made a decision yet about exactly how the process will unfold around the second round of funding that we're going to get from the American Recovery Act. But I think it's probably pretty safe to say that we're not going to rely just on the initial RFP responses. I think there'll be some opportunities for further ideas to come forward. So for folks who did not submit a proposal to our initial RFP, I would just encourage folks to kind of keep your eye on the process going forward. It might be a couple months from now when we start laying out what phase 2 is going to look like, because we still obviously are pretty early in phase 1. So keep your eye on that, because there is going to be an additional $26 million next year that you know, new ideas could be brought forward. You know, and then the county, of course, you know, was doing a lot of existing work and partnering with different groups in these areas prior to this, you know, kind of one-time funding that we're getting through the Recovery Act. We also have like a strategic partnership process through our budget where organizations can bring proposals to us for just different various, it's pretty open-ended. Basically, as long as the projects need to sort of reflect the priorities established in the Buncombe County strategic plan, although like the vast majority, I mean, most everything that I've heard today, you know, would be things that are identified as priorities in the strategic plan. So that's another process where people, if they're looking for some, you know, it's typically fairly modest levels of funding, but that's another process we use through our budget process as well. So those would be a couple of ideas about potential opportunities for, you know, people to take an idea and explore different ways the county might be able to provide some support.
And I'll just add on to that, just to clarify for folks. So in this initial funding, right, it was around 25 million. So we've already allocated a little over 11 million of that. And we will be doing before the end of the year here will be the other 14 million of that. And I think for that part, we will be looking at the proposals we already have. And then as Commissioner Newman said, then with that other 25 million is when we may be able to look at some additional proposals.
Thanks for the clarification.
And Bill, I would like to add too, even after this 50 million is gone, you know, when we're past that, pay attention to our website, look at the different commissions and that we have already, where it's early childhood, affordable housing, for the environment. It's a lot of places in the county that you can give input. And we're always listening and looking for new ideas that will help the quality of life here in Buncombe County. So don't fear, and if you need to reach out to us individually, and we'll help, the commissioners will help steer you in the right direction.
And I'll just say here, as we're getting ready probably to close, I just thoroughly appreciate all of you that showed up today and shared your ideas and your perspectives. It was really enlightening. I learned some new things, and it was really great just to get a sense from you of kind of what you see as priorities. I think that's really important, and I would love for us to do this more often. So I'm hopeful we can continue, because I found this extremely valuable to have this conversation with you. So thank you very much. And so look for more opportunities. For myself, I'll say I really enjoyed this and definitely want us to provide more of these opportunities. It was very valuable.
Yeah, I would like to say thank you too. And Jasmine and I did this in District 1, the old District 1, even before COVID. And we were doing it personally then. And I hope we can get back out to doing it where we can talk to the people, talk to everybody face to face, you know, and not do it virtually. Because this input to me is invaluable. And I know it is to all the commission, because we represent you and we want to hear from you so that we know what you need and what's the best way for us to go about providing the services. And thank you for coming out.
I do want to give a special shout out to Terri Wells. I will let the secret out that this format for community engagement was her idea. So Terri, thanks for bringing the suggestion forward. I think the first one has gone really well, and there's going to be 2 more coming up soon for districts 2 and 3. But of course, anybody's welcome, of course, to join any of these. So if you know any other folks in the community, if you found this valuable, feel free to help us share, spread the word. The dates are on the county commission website. So as we've talked about, this is an important investment we're going to make. We want to try to make it in the most impactful, long-lasting way that we can. So thanks everyone for being here today. I hope that people can get out and enjoy some beautiful sunshine we're experiencing right now, and have a great weekend as well. Thanks everybody.